This is just going to be a thing now, isn't it? Every January, Timothée Chalamet turns up in cinemas, fresh-faced and ready for his award noms, having emerged from his cave right about the point Michael Bublé takes down the Christmas decks and climbs back into his. I'm not hating, by the way. I think the kid's great. It's just, let's just call this what it is, right? I really hate awards season. Thank God Steve Carell had this ready to push out, huh? Because Welcome to Marwen seems to have gone down about as well as Louis C.K. on Ladies' Night. This is decidedly less imaginative than Marwen. In fact, you've seen this movie before. Several times, probably. I'd go so far as to say you've likely definitely seen this movie before if you ventured so far as to seeing, I don't know, a movie. Beautiful Boy is basically a Lifetime movie, given the veneer of Oscar credibility by the most cynical means possible, but emerging actually pretty impressive by virtue of the two faces on its poster being damn great in it. Based on the memoirs of both the journalist David Sheff and his former addict son Nicholas, Beautiful Boy is the pretty standard teen drug addiction drama, told here from the perspective of David as played by Carell and with Chalamet as Nicholas. Nicholas, who's a recent high school graduate, struggles with a disease of addiction brought on by initially casual recreational drug use that soon spirals out of control to unravel not only his own future but also the present day for his loved ones too. Academically, it's a story that's been done to death. Hell, I saw James Woods and Sean Young do this movie 20 years ago, and, well, you can probably find at least 3 former CSI actors who starred in made-for-TV versions too. So it's not exactly a sparklingly original bit of material, despite the real-world personal element brought to it by the chefs. But is that really enough to justify seeing it? I mean, Josh Hartnett did drug addiction drama while stranded in the snow last year, and nobody saw that. Admittedly, nobody should ever see that movie, but what is it that makes this so damn exciting? I mean, Julia Roberts and Lucas Hedges have a teen addiction drama ready to be released. I know, because I hadn't heard about it until the award screener turned up. It's called Ben is Back, if you're wondering, and no, I have no idea who Ben is nor where he's been. Rehab, probably. To be quite merciless about it, Beautiful Boy's success has really only come down to 2 factors. Those leads, and a quite refreshing, if eventually neglected, look at the part that the treatment industry plays in the cycle of addiction. The way in which mantras and accepted self-help philosophies can mutate over time to become excuses and justifications. I'm not kidding either. There's a moment in this in which Steve Carell blurts out that relapse is a part of recovery and begins to visibly choke on his own complacency as a result. It's a genuinely brilliant moment. I mean, I like Carell quite a lot, admittedly, and if there'd been more of that stuff in there, wow. There isn't, sadly. So you're stuck with the crumbs of what is, and while the film on the whole is at worst serviceable, at best decent, it's just a really rote and by-the-numbers exercise you know we probably wouldn't be talking about if this thing dropped in June rather than January. Every beat of Beautiful Boy is what you'd expect it to be. The I think you have a problem scene, the oh I'm recovered, now I'll have a bad afternoon will make me relapse scene, the overdose scene, the turn my life around scene, the relapse scene is so worn and tired as a drama concept that it's frankly astounding they managed to get Carell and Chalamet in there to begin with. Kinda lucky they did really, because it's got nothing noteworthy in the tank without them. Belgian director Felix Groeningen makes his English language debut on this. He's co-written the screenplay with Luke Davis, and while his direction is very capable and he's aided immeasurably by the cinematographer of Raw, Ruben Impens, you'll not likely come away from Beautiful Boy feeling in any way mind blown by great production or storytelling. Largely because nearly everything about the film feels like it's there to stand aside and let the father and son duo do all the work. There's no impetus on anyone or anything else involved to up their game. The film simply sort of sinks into the background while the double C's go for their potential awards noms. Doesn't help matters either that Johnny Jewel's score keeps trying to inject this David Fincher-like sensibility into a movie that looks for the most part like a sort of stock pharmaceuticals ad with kind of all the creativity to match. Consult your doctor for more information. And it's a shame too, because the film does periodically tease something of an interesting and actually quite modern angle from which to look at addiction. You see, Beautiful Boy opens with a scene about midway through the story where Carell asks a doctor to explain the physiological process of addiction. That doctor, incidentally, is played by Timothy Hutton in what's ultimately like a 30-second cameo, so this is something they ditch more or less as quickly as they bring it up, but they offhandedly acknowledge every now and again that this father, you know, a journalist, might be utilizing his specific skill set to try and tackle his son's addiction in a previously unthought of, at least in movies, kind of a way. If you're looking for them to do more with that, though, no such luck. It's just standard Marge Helgenberger made-for-TV drama that's going to have to do you, but with the added quality boost of C&C perking up the performances. For what little it counts, the supporting cast do get fleeting moments like very briefly shine. Maura Tierney's pretty good as Carell's wife, Amy Ryan's engaging as Chalamet's mom, Carell's ex, and Andre Royo's likeable for what he gets to do, but really only fares marginally better than Timothy Hutton in the screen time department. Carell and Chalamet are genuinely terrific though, and they're more than worth seeing Beautiful Boy for. They've got great screen chemistry. Carell continues to reassert the reality that the best comedians all seem to make for great dramatic actors as well, in case we'd all somehow forgotten in the years since Robin Williams passed. And Chalamet's got such a broad brilliance to him that I think I've now reached the stage I'll more or less watch him in anything this side of a Medea movie. You will feel for these characters though, and how can you not with those two actors? 3 stars for the performances and the serious emotional heft they pull out of the drama. I just wish the drama had been in service of a better movie. Or at least one that we haven't seen done many times before and that ends with the single most nausea-inducing PSA you've ever encountered. Not gonna lie, my eyes rolled so hard at the end of this that I scraped my contact lens on the back of my eye sockets, but hey, Carell and Chalamet, yay! Here's another one you've seen done before, Lord of the Flies, right? I mean, pretty much everyone had to read that in school at some point. Well, there's a documentary out this week called The Raft that kind of neatly doubles as a scientific experiment exploring exactly that concept. Back in the 70s, an anthropologist named Santiago Genovese launched what would become known as the Sex Raft. A 12-meter by 7-meter custom-built raft he sent across the Atlantic from the Canary Islands to Mexico, containing only himself and 10 volunteers from different countries and different socioeconomic backgrounds. Why did he do this, you may ask? Well, he wanted to document the connection between violence and sexuality in an attempt to, and this is the quote, document and cure world violence. I know, only in the 70s, right? Like any good reality show host nowadays, though, Genovese kept chucking in little curveballs to incite conflict. So he put the women in charge, for example, to see if that would make things more or less violent. He ignored hurricane warnings. He pushed participants towards physical involvements with other participants, which admittedly gets profoundly racist at one point, as you'd expect. And naturally enough, his participants soon begin strategizing his murder in response. It's a really interesting story, and the way they've told it here with the use of 16mm footage from the Raft experiment itself, coupled with the surviving participants reuniting on what's actually a full-size recreation of it, makes you a pretty great combo. There just isn't enough material to the story, however, to really keep it running as a feature-length documentary. You could absolutely see this working as a narrative feature. Obviously, the character stuff and the conflict would lead to some solid drama, but being told about it as we are here is just decidedly less satisfying on the whole. 2 stars from me. I mean, look up the story and there is an amusing enough read to be had there, but sink 97 minutes into this and you're going to be treading water for a lot of that time. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review.